Hello, dear Libra soul. Tell me honestly, have you been feeling like something's stirring beneath the surface lately? A subtle shift, a whisper in the wind, a sense that something invisible is gently guiding you? If you're here, watching this video, I want you to know this is not a coincidence. This is a cosmic alignment. You didn't just stumble across this message found you. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where today's reading is more than a forecast. It's a revelation. It's a sacred pause in time, a moment carved out just for you, the seeker of harmony, the bearer of grace, the quiet warrior of balance. You, Libra, who has held space for others, made peace when no one noticed, and bent gently in storms to protect the beauty of connection. But now, something is coming. And it's not soft. Tomorrow, a blow of destiny is arriving, not to shake your balance apart, but to awaken the power of your center. The miracle you've prayed for in silence, the dream you dared not say aloud, it's rising, and it's louder than ever. Your soul, so often soft-spoken, is about to receive an answer that echoes far beyond what you thought possible. Let me ask you something personal, Libra. Have you ever given so much that you forgot how to receive? Has your kindness become so instinctive, your compromises so automatic, that you started to wonder, does the universe even see me? It does. It always has. And tomorrow, it speaks back, not in whispers, but in waves. The energy entering your field is karmic, golden, and undeniably yours. This isn't luck. It's recognition. It's the universe acknowledging everything you've held in silence, everything you've endured with grace. The balance you fought so hard to maintain is no longer a quiet battle. It is now the very magnet calling abundance into your life. Comment below with the sacred number 6, the vibration of harmony, compassion, and soul alignment to activate this new chapter. That number isn't random. It's a reflection of your truth. Before we go deeper into the messages that Spirit has for you today, let me take a brief moment to say thank you. Thank you for being here. For every like, every comment you've ever shared, every subscription, your presence allows this sacred space to grow. Your support doesn't just fuel this channel, it helps us reach more souls like yours who need healing, clarity, and confirmation. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being part of the Zodiac Whisper Tarot family. You are deeply seen, deeply appreciated, and deeply aligned with something bigger than you can imagine. And trust me, Libra, you'll want to stay with me until the very last second of today's reading. Because what the universe is revealing right now is breathtaking. Destiny does not knock gently. It arrives with a message written in gold. So tell me, beautiful Libra, what did you feel in your heart that led you here, right now? Let's begin. There's something sacred about timing, and even more so when that timing aligns with your sense of truth. As we step gently into the first revelation of today's reading, the energy of the Justice card begins to rise around you, not as a judgment, but as a reflection. Justice, in the tarot, is not about punishment or reward in the simplistic sense. It is a mirror of universal law. What you have given, especially in silence, does not go unnoticed. It's the quiet accounting of the soul's efforts, and Libra, it is your archetype. This is your language. Justice is not cold. In fact, it is deeply compassionate because it sees everything. It sees when you chose peace over pride. It remembers the nights you didn't defend yourself just to keep someone else's world intact. It carries the weight of every compromise you made that no one else thanked you for. And now, like the final drop that tips the scales, all that energy you've poured into the world is starting to come back. Slowly, steadily, and undeniably. The sacred number 6 appears now as a gentle confirmation. In numerology, 6 is the number of love in its highest form, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that shows up when needed most. It's the energy of caretakers, of empaths, of those who bring balance to chaos without asking for applause. If you've ever been the peacemaker in your family, the quiet anchor in a friend group, the one who absorbs emotions so others don't have to, this number speaks directly to you. You may be wondering, why now? Why does this energy return at this moment in your life? Because divine timing is never late, and what you've sown in grace will always bloom in its right season. Sometimes, we are asked to be patient longer than others. Not because we are forgotten, but because our reward carries weight, and weight takes time to gather. There's something deeply human about wanting to know that goodness matters. That our choices to forgive, to yield, to love even when we were tired means something. And I want to remind you, with full confidence, they do. There is a quiet principle, much like gravity, that holds the moral order of the universe together. Call it cause and effect. Call it energetic balance. Or, for those who follow sacred teachings, you may remember the advice to never tire of doing good, for in due time, you will reap if you do not give up. Not because someone's watching, but because the energy we give shapes what comes. You're not being rewarded for being perfect. You're receiving back what you've given from the most genuine part of yourself, that part that often goes unspoken, unnoticed, but never unloved. And now, the spiritual ledger tilts. The scale leans in your favor. All you must do is remain open to receive what's yours, not in guilt, not in modesty, but with the grace of someone who finally knows their worth. If your heart is beating a little faster right now, it's because your soul recognizes the truth in these words. This isn't just about fairness in the world, it's about alignment within yourself. The version of you that's been quietly waiting, hoping, holding on to faith is finally being invited to stand in the light. So take a breath. Let your shoulders relax. And if you feel moved, leave a comment with the number 6, not just to activate this energy, but as a sacred agreement with your own journey. You don't need to push. You don't need to fight. Your balance is already in motion. The universe is simply returning what was always yours. Sometimes abundance doesn't arrive in a loud rush. It comes quietly, wrapped in grace, flowing toward those who've learned how to live with beauty not just around them but within. Following the previous message of justice and energetic return, we now enter the realm of Venus, your ruling planet, Libra, the celestial body that governs love, beauty, pleasure, and yes, prosperity. And right now, Venus is harmoniously aligned with Saturn, the great teacher of time and structure. This alignment is rare, and when it happens, it's like the universe whispering, you are ready to harvest the seeds of self-worth you once quietly planted. In this season, your natural gifts, diplomacy, emotional intelligence, an eye for beauty, the way you bring elegance into chaos, these aren't just personality traits. They are currency. And the world is beginning to see that. Financial energy is shifting, not because you're working harder in the traditional sense, but because you're finally beginning to value the softer skills that society often overlooks. You may have always assumed that abundance came from pushing, striving, or proving your usefulness. But this moment is here to show you that abundance flows most naturally when you stop forcing yourself into spaces that dim your light and start standing in the spaces that reflect who you really are. It's not about performing anymore, it's about aligning. When Venus touches Saturn like this, it's a signal to reassess the way you earn, spend, and receive money. Is your current financial path a true reflection of your heart, or is it just survival in disguise? Have you told yourself that your love for design, communication, or aesthetics isn't practical enough? Maybe it's time to rethink that. Because what you consider soft, the world is now learning to value as essential. In times of chaos, beauty and clarity become rare, and rare things carry worth. This is where a deeper kind of maturity begins. Not the kind that restricts you, but the kind that liberates you from self-doubt. You're being invited to build something more sustainable, not just wealth, but well-being. Take a closer look at your relationship with money. Are you avoiding certain conversations or decisions because they feel overwhelming? That's okay. You're not alone. Many Libras struggle with financial avoidance because they're more focused on harmony than conflict, even when that conflict is internal. But now is a good time to lovingly call yourself forward. Start small. Review your spending habits not with guilt, but with curiosity. Ask yourself if your income reflects your true worth. Reflect on whether your work feels emotionally expensive or energetically aligned. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. But you do have to acknowledge where the energy no longer supports your growth. There's a quiet truth echoed in many spiritual traditions. You don't have to chase what is already yours. When you walk in truth, resources begin to meet you there. You don't need to become someone else to attract abundance, you simply need to become fully yourself. That version of you that finds beauty in the everyday, that brings peace into conversation, that thinks in color and emotion, that version is the key. Don't be afraid to claim a life that reflects your values. When you honor your soul's design, you naturally step into flow, and flow always leads to provision. Not just financial, but emotional, creative, and spiritual. The kind of wealth that lasts. If you feel called to, take a moment to affirm your readiness. You might whisper to yourself, I am worthy of a life that supports me fully financially, emotionally, and creatively. And if that feels true in your spirit, leave a comment below sharing one word that defines your ideal financial life. Let's anchor it together. You are not asking for too much. You're finally asking from the right place. It's often in the quiet moments, the pauses between decisions, the spaces where nothing is said but everything is felt, that your deepest wisdom begins to rise. And as we move forward from the lessons of value and self-worth, a new kind of knowing is beginning to unfold for you now. The appearance of the High Priestess in your reading is not accidental. She shows up when your logical mind has done all it can, and your next step must come from somewhere deeper, softer, and far more powerful, your intuition. For Libra, a sign born under the symbol of balance, it's natural to weigh all perspectives, to listen carefully before acting, to seek fairness in both inner and outer worlds. But sometimes, too many opinions and too much information can blur the signal of your inner voice. That's why the High Priestess appears now to remind you that the answers you've been searching for have never been outside of you. They've simply been waiting for the right moment to rise from within. Intuition isn't loud. It doesn't shout over noise or compete for your attention. It arrives like a whisper in the quiet before sleep, in the stillness of a morning thought, in the gut feeling you almost dismissed. And yet, this internal compass has always guided you, especially in times when logic could only take you so far. Tomorrow's shift, that blow of destiny we've been speaking about, won't come with a flashing sign. It will come through a subtle knowing, a sudden clarity, an effortless yes, or an undeniable no. You won't need to explain it. You'll just know. The High Priestess represents sacred stillness, but she is not passive. She is discerning. She waits because she understands the rhythm of life, that not everything should be acted upon immediately. And this is especially important for you right now, Libra. In a world that constantly asks you to respond, perform, explain, the most radical act of power might be to pause. To trust your timing. To believe that silence does not equal inaction. In fact, silence is often the space where true direction begins to crystallize. You may feel something shifting in your body already, perhaps a slight calm where there was once confusion, or a nudge to listen more than speak. That is not coincidence. That is your inner knowing recalibrating itself. There is something beautiful about the way clarity arrives when we stop searching and start listening. When we make space for stillness, wisdom comes not as a command, but as companionship. Even those who walk by faith, not sight, understand the power of quiet wisdom. We are reminded often in life to lean not only on what is visible, but also on what is certain inside. That quiet certainty is what anchors you now. You don't need to have all the answers to move forward, you only need to be still enough to recognize the next right step when it reveals itself. If it feels aligned, I invite you to take just 10 minutes tomorrow morning before you reach for your phone, before the outside world calls you, and simply sit in silence. Place a hand on your heart, close your eyes, and breathe into that center of quiet power. Ask no questions. Just listen. And if something arises, a feeling, an image, a word, let it be enough. That is how intuition speaks. And if you feel it now, that stirring of deeper wisdom, I encourage you to write this affirmation below in the comments. I trust the quiet intelligence within me, and it is already leading the way. You don't have to force clarity. It is already unfolding. You only need to be present enough to catch it when it arrives. It's amazing how certain colors can shift our emotions before we even speak a word. After all the quiet alignment, you've been invited into the reflection of justice, the clarity of Venus, and the awakening of your inner knowing through the High Priestess. Now, something softer is beginning to unfold. It's the energy of presence, of how you show up in love, in space, in connection. The universe speaks in symbols, and one of its most subtle languages is color. Right now, the colors that hold resonance for you, pastel pink, olive green, and soft beige, aren't random. They are emotional frequencies. They are reminders of the qualities that not only define you as a Libra but also attract the relationships that will truly nourish you. Pastel pink invites in compassion and emotional tenderness. It doesn't shout, it gently opens the heart. Olive green carries a message of peace, not just with others, but within yourself. It holds the vibration of grounded love, the kind that doesn't fade with chaos. And beige, often overlooked, represents neutrality and gentle strength. Together, these tones create an emotional palette that mirrors what's possible for your love life now, a connection that is calm, conscious, and deeply felt. You don't need extremes. You need resonance. And your energy is becoming magnetic to just that. If you've been healing from a relationship or perhaps holding space for one that once mattered, you may feel an old bond circling back. Not to repeat the past, but to meet you where you are now, wiser, softer, and more aware. Sometimes love returns not to reignite old patterns, but to offer closure, clarity, or even a new beginning built on truth. And if you're single, this is a beautiful moment to recognize that your soft energy isn't a weakness, it's a lighthouse. People feel safe around your presence, not because you try too hard, but because you carry serenity in your spirit. That energy speaks louder than words. For those of you in a relationship, you may feel a need to reconnect on a deeper level, not with grand gestures, but with sincerity. A handwritten letter, a heartfelt conversation, or even shared silence with intention can rebuild bridges that routine may have slowly worn down. Often, it's not that love has faded, but that it's been waiting for you both to pause and see each other again. The beauty of Libra's love is not in possession, it's in presence. You don't cling. You harmonize. There's a quiet teaching that says love is patient, and love is kind. But there's something even more powerful: love is balanced. It gives and receives. It listens and expresses. It makes room for imperfections without losing reverence for the connection itself. When you carry love in a way that honors this balance, you don't have to chase it. You attract it. If you've been asking for a partnership that feels mutual, honest, emotionally mature, this is your confirmation. You're not wrong to want what you want. But you must first become what you desire. Let your communication reflect your values. Let your energy reflect what you're ready to receive. Love doesn't require perfection, just authenticity. And if your heart feels open to it, leave a comment below saying, "I attract balanced, emotionally mature, and joyful love into my life." Let that be a small step of intention. A quiet but confident signal to the universe that you're ready not just to be loved, but to love in a way that truly honors the soul you've become. You're not meant for fleeting fireworks. You're meant for the kind of love that glows from the inside and lasts. Not every transformation arrives with thunder. Some come like a shift in breath, soft, almost imperceptible, but once felt, they change everything. And as we follow the flow from emotional balance and harmonious love, we find ourselves arriving at a place where evolution doesn't demand force. It simply asks for honesty. The truth is, Libra, you were never meant to fight your way forward. Your gift has always been your grace. And now, that very softness is becoming your greatest strength. You may begin to notice that what once felt like effort now begins to feel like ease. The more you align with who you truly are without apologizing, without adjusting your essence for the comfort of others, the more you begin to experience peace, not as an absence of chaos, but as a steady rhythm within your body. This is not a stillness that traps you, it's a calm that moves with you, like a quiet confidence that doesn't need to raise its voice. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't chase transformation, it embodies it. There's often a belief that change has to look dramatic in order to be real. But the most profound shifts happen when you stop trying so hard to become something, and start allowing who you've always been to rise to the surface. That is exactly what this moment is offering you. No more running. No more pretending. Just the gentle unfolding of truth. Your body, too, is longing for this kind of nourishment. Not the kind that demands performance or perfection, but the kind that says, rest, breathe, soften. Gentle movement, a slow stretch, a short yoga session, or even just walking barefoot on the earth can help reawaken the parts of you that have been holding tension for too long. Add to that soft sounds, a calming cup of tea, a corner of your home that feels like sanctuary, and suddenly, your energy begins to regenerate. Not because you're doing more, but because you're doing it with intention. And when it comes to your environment, don't underestimate the power of physical space. Libra thrives in beauty, not for vanity's sake, but because beauty is peace made visible. Take some time to clear what feels heavy or stagnant. You don't need to redecorate your life, just remove what no longer reflects who you are becoming. Make space for the new. Let the air move freely again. A calm space invites a calm mind. And a calm mind makes room for inspired action. Every day, you have the opportunity to come home to yourself. One simple practice can anchor you. Write a sentence each morning: today, I choose peace, and I still move forward. Let it be your compass. Let it be your quiet commitment to living with both presence and momentum. You're not choosing between action and rest anymore. You're choosing both, and doing so from a place of self-respect. And if doubt ever creeps in, remember this: true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the whisper that keeps going when everything else goes still. You don't need to prove your worth by pushing. You've already done the work. Now, let your worth rise through the way you treat yourself, not with urgency, but with devotion. Let this be your new rhythm: graceful, gentle, and grounded. You are not behind. You are blooming in perfect time. And every quiet choice you make in favor of alignment over approval is a step closer to the life that truly fits you. Keep going softly, but surely. And just like that, Libra, we've walked together through the quiet corridors of alignment, from karmic balance to emotional wisdom, from the return of gentle love to the power of soft transformation. And now, as we arrive at the close of this reading, I want you to pause with me for a moment, right here, right now, and breathe. Because what you've just received isn't simply information. It's an invitation to remember your essence, to reclaim your peace, and to realize that the path ahead doesn't have to be loud or chaotic to be powerful. Sometimes the most life-changing journeys begin with a whisper, and Libra, that whisper lives in you. There's a reason your sign is represented by the scales. It's not about perfection or symmetry. It's about the dance, the sacred balance between giving and receiving, logic and intuition, softness and strength. And when you live in harmony with that rhythm, you become magnetic. Not because you chase what you want, but because you become a calm center that draws the right people, the right opportunities, and the right timing to you without resistance. That's your quiet superpower, the ability to realign your entire life not through force, but through presence. So now, I ask you gently, what are you ready to receive more of? What would it look like to live every day with a little more grace, a little more spaciousness, a little more trust in your own timing? What if the life you're meant to live isn't the one you've been hustling toward, but the one that flows to you when you stop trying to prove, and start choosing yourself? Let's take this a step deeper. If you could change one small thing today, just one, what would it be? Would you give yourself 10 extra minutes of silence in the morning to reconnect with your center? Would you speak your needs in a relationship where you've been too quiet? Would you finally give yourself permission to rest, without guilt? Don't underestimate how one gentle choice can begin to shift everything. The energy you cultivate now will echo into the coming days like ripples in still water. You don't need to rush. You don't need to become someone else. You simply need to remember who you've always been underneath the noise: thoughtful, radiant, intuitive, and whole. That version of you doesn't demand. It attracts. It doesn't shout. It shines. If this message touched something in you today, I want to encourage you to share your reflection in the comments. What part of the reading resonated most deeply? Was it the reminder that softness is strength? The idea that love can return in a healthier form? Or maybe the realization that your intuition already knows what's next? Your words matter, and your experience may help someone else feel seen too. And before we go, let me say from my heart, thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself by being here. Thank you for listening with openness, and for giving space to your own healing. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps this channel Zodiac Whisper Tarot continue to reach beautiful souls like you who are on their own journeys of self-discovery, growth, and return. If you haven't already, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on the notification bell so we can continue to walk this path together, week after week, moment by moment. You are part of something bigger here, and your presence truly makes a difference. So as we close, I leave you with one simple but powerful affirmation: I choose balance. I choose light. I am the co-creator of my destiny beginning tomorrow. Let that truth settle in your chest, and let the softness within you become the steady force that carries you forward. You've got this, Libra. And I'll be right here, whispering the stars with you again very soon.